What's going on YouTube? It's Texans Takeover here, back with another video. In today's video, we are talking about who the Texans are most likely to select in this upcoming draft. We're here on my app that I created, the Stressens Prospect Tracker, but you can see there's now 3 new pages here with tendencies, probability, and fit rankings. So you can see the 70 prospects we've met with here, like some Mekhi Lemon, Caden Proctor, Lee Hunter, Caden McDonald, Peter Woods, and 65 others. If they have a C next to their name, that means they are a captain, and then they have projections of when they might go in the draft there. And also, if they've gone on a top 30 visit with the Houston Texans, it will be labeled as a yes. So you can see Caleb Douglas, Charles Demings, Tyler Yedem, Adam Randall, Jalen Kilgore, Caden Proctor, and Caden McDonald all scheduled to go on a top 30 visit. But if we go to this tendencies page, this is something I created and it came out today. You can see what the Texans draft tendencies have been. We've had 41 total picks since Nick Caserio became the GM. And we've had 6 wide receivers come in, which is the most per position, but it's pretty spread out. You can see D tackle, safety, tight end, linebacker there, all with 4. Offensive tackle, corner, running back, quarterback, and D end there with 3. You can name the quarterbacks Stroud, Mertz, and Mills. And then you got guard and center there with 2. So you can see where we select from the Big Ten, the SEC, the Pac-12, the Big 12, and the ACC. So before the Pac-12 became part of the Big Ten, it's been predominantly um, Power 5, but now obviously Power 4, because if you look at the draft history, you can see USC part of the Big Ten this year, but when they were part of the Pac-12, we were selecting from USC, Oregon, USC again. So, the Pac-12 schools that became part of other conferences besides Tegan Quatoriano, um, you know, Stanford part of the ACC, Stanford again part of the ACC. So it's only really one prospect from the Pac-12, and then the rest would be scattered around in those other Power 4 conferences. So you can see Texans are very heavy on the Power 4 conferences. The other is the Athletic or American Athletic Conference, which is Tank Dell, obviously, and then Independent is Jarrett Patterson, Blake Fisher. But you can see where we select per round. Only 4 first-round picks for Casario. We had 2, obviously, with Stroud and Will Anderson, and then you had 1 with you can go to the draft history and it'll show you 1 with Stroud and Will Anderson, 1 with Stingley, and then 1 with Kenyon Green. So the times we've drafted in the first round, we've had 2 first-round picks. 7 second-round picks, 7 third-round picks, and then 8 sixth. So you can see those are our heaviest rounds that we select in. That would equate to 22 out of 41 total picks in the second, third, and sixth rounds. And then in the seventh, we have 6. Fifth, we have 5. Fourth, we have 4. So actually kind of funny, 5, 5, 4, 4. But you can see where we average our positions by round. Stingley and Lassiter obviously makes that quite high with the average round of 2. Drafted a lot of receivers, so the average round is at 3. Quarterback should be a little bit higher, but you can see Graham Mertz being at 6. Sixth round pick or seventh round pick makes the average a little bit lower. So you can kind of just see how we balance out the draft. Players that we've had meeting with. So if you go to the draft history, you can see what the Texans have done with all their draft picks. The only players we haven't met with are Deculus, Toriano, Brendan Hill, and Marcus Harris, and that's just because I couldn't find a report on them. We might have met with them, but as you can see, 37 of them have had meetings, 4 have not, and about over half of them are on top 30 visits. Quite a couple had combine visits on top of top 30 visits, but I would deem top 30 to be more important, which is why the number is higher for top 30. But a lot of dudes had combine visits as well. Some had pro day visits, and only I know Dylan Horton was one, and I believe Jawar Jordan was the other. And then some were like virtual interviews during COVID and stuff like that, which is why this number is so high, because obviously the Nico Collins, Davis Mills draft class happened while COVID was going on. And then this is something that I thought was interesting: captain versus non-captain. Over a quarter of our players were captains in college that we've selected, which I thought was really interesting. And you can see where we draft most from. USC, you can try to name them: Solomon Byrd, Kalen Bullock, Woody Marks, Jalen Smith. Those are the 4. Alabama, Christian Harris. Who else did we draft from Alabama? Christian Harris, Henry To'oTo'o. Anyone on the offensive line? Not on the top of my head. Will Anderson Jr., obviously. And then there's one more I'm missing. I guess we can just go check. I don't know who I'm missing to end with. Will Anderson's right there. John Mechie. I forgot John Mechie. How did I forget John Mechie? And then you can see like Iowa State obviously the wide receivers, all from Iowa State, Penn State, Florida, Notre Dame, Michigan, Ohio State, TCU, LSU, and probably a lot of other schools there with too. But this is what you want to look at, the probability rankings. So who are the strongest fits for the Texans? Kristen Miller is the top one, so maybe I include him in a mock draft sometime soon because you can see his scores here and how they're weighted. Haven't gone on a top 30 visit, but right now I have these scores at 35 if they haven't gone on top 30 visit, just because not everything's been confirmed. But someone like a Tyler Onyedem is obviously going to be at 100 for a top 30 visit. Um, so, you try to balance out the scores to see, how good of fits these players are. So Kristen Miller at near the top, Parker Brailsford near at the top, Landon Robinson, Oscar Delp. You can see with the captains in college, you can see how high they are ranked. Tyler Onyedem there, Caden McDonald there, Marlon Klein even there, C.J. Allen, Adam Randall, Connor Liu, who's a really nice fit for the Texans up there too. We can look at his scores. Number two position of need, in my opinion, is center. So that's all the way there, up at 95. Formal meetings are 95. Informal is 75. Pro day 60. Other than that, it is lower if you meet at the Senior Bowl or Shrine Bowl. I have it a little bit lower. So someone that met with the Texans at the Shrine Bowl would be the likes of Max Bredesen if I can find them somewhere. And you can see how it's weighed out compared to someone with a formal meeting. So Caden Proctor, 95 right there. I need to change him to a guard or a tackle just because he has two positions, so they try to balance it out, but it's a little difficult, to really determine what he's going to play in the NFL. But someone like Max Bredesen met at the Shrine Bowl, um, and you can see it's at 50, so it's not as high as someone who had a Senior Bowl would be 50 as well, but someone who had a pro day would be at 60. So, using these formulas, we were able to determine, or I was able to determine who might be the best fit for the Texans per position. So you can see our top 10 targets: Christian Miller, Brailsford, Onyedem, McDonald, Robinson, Delp, Klein, Eastern, Allen, and Randall. And if you go by position, you can see best D tackle available is Kristen Miller for us. Best offensive lineman is supposedly Parker Brailsford, which I thought was interesting. Billy Stroud up there at third, too, who I really like. At tight end, the top three is Delp, Klein, and Sadiq. Top three at linebacker is Allen Woodez and Lawson. Running back, it's Randall, Washington, and Price, which I think is interesting as well. I think three guys that Texans fans would all be ecstatic if we brought in. Cornerback, it's Demings, Rivers, and Washington. We only have three corners in there, but these two are not nearly as high as Charles Demings, who's really good athletically as well. At edge, it's Yakis, Llewellyn, and Lucas. So three guys the Texans have met with there. Some guys we met with at the combine. Max Llewellyn should be formal, so I bet his score will be higher than that. Douglas, Waltall, and Lemon are the top three wide receivers. Only four at the position. You can see the amount of prospects per position here. Safety, 7 prospects, but Kilgore is at the top. Smith and Wheatley next up, and then Max Bredesen obviously there at fullback by himself. If you go by round, you can see what the best fit by round is, which I think is really interesting. So round one, apparently our best fit is Caden McDonald. I don't know about that schematically, but given the Texans' tendencies, it seems like Caden McDonald is the best fit, and then C.J. Allen, Lee Hunter, Peter Woods would be the ones after that. In round two, it seems like Kristen Miller would be the best fit, so 2 D tackles in there. Emmanuel Pregnon second, Yakis third, Golday fourth, Price fifth, so maybe we get 2 of those in the second round. In the third round, we have day 2 to 3 prospects as well, which would mix in here. So Lou would be a really good fit in day 2. Big Citrus, Billy Stroud, McClellan, Lawson, Claire would all be good fits in day 2. They even like Grayson Holt and Mike Washington Jr. In round 4, they like Demings and Kilgore or Llewellyn. They like Landon Robinson a lot for round 5. In day 3, they like Brailsford, Onyedem, Delp, Klein, Randall, Eastern. So, yeah, a lot of probabilities. You can see what it looks like here. And if we go back to just the natural top 10 targets, you can see the averages of everything. So the high score out of everyone for the best fit for the Texans is actually Kristen Miller. And out of all 70 prospects that the Texans have met with, the average score is a 69. So someone like a Kristen Miller at 89 is 20 points above the average. And 24 players have a high probability out of 70. So, about, what is that? Maybe a third, just a little bit over a third. So like 30, 35% maybe. So maybe that could be a little bit more selective, but yeah, this is what we're doing right now. What I've been doing, trying to determine who the Texans might actually select. Obviously, the film and all that makes a big difference. But you can go check this out, HoustonStressins.com. Click on this draft tab here and go see all this for yourself. I tried to explain everything today, and it believes that Christian Miller would be the best fit for the Texans. So we'll see what happens headed into the draft process. Obviously, there's going to be more top 30 meetings and stuff like that. Maybe some reworks on the scoring and stuff like that as well. If I feel like maybe Connor Liu is a better fit than a Christian Miller or something like that. I don't know. We'll continue to determine this as time goes along. But for now, if it was to be a mock draft based on this model, it would be Caden McDonald in round one. I would say Pregnon in round two because we already got D tackle. And then Lou also in round two. Lawson and Claire maybe in round three, or Washington or Halton. And then round four, I think it'd be Jalen Kilgore, Lane Robinson in five. Or actually, no. We'd probably go, Oscar Delp in 4 or 5, and then on Yedem in 5 or 6, and then like Adam Randall in round 7, which I think could be interesting. So yeah, let me know what y'all think. Let me know who you think the Texans will select, and I'll continue to work on this and hopefully enhance it to the point where we get some picks right by this. So we'll see. Let me know what y'all think down in the comment section below. And as always, it's Texans Takeover, and I'm out. Peace.